Okay. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL 30A 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Finance Committee is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. Members of the public who wish to participate in the meeting via Zoom may do so by clicking on this link on the screen. Members of the public who would like to listen to the meeting while in progress may also do so via telephone by dialing 1-646-558-8656 and enter the meeting ID 824-4362-2347, and then press pound and pound again at the next voice prompt. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by following the steps previously noted, then press *9 on the telephone keypad. Are you using the raise hand function on Zoom? This will notify the meeting host that the caller wishes to speak. In the event that despite our best efforts, we are not able to provide for real-time access, we'll post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as we are able. At that point, let's call the meeting to order, and we'll do a roll call for the members who are here. Teresa Manganelli?
Present.
John Dugas?
Present.
Marianne Galizzo?
Present.
Michelle Kincaid?
Present.
Lee Martinson? Bernie Nally?
Yeah.
Kevin Stokes and myself.
Present.
Thank you, Kevin. At this point in time, the first up is planning and conservation.
Good evening.
That's on page 45 of the budget book. Good evening, Valerie.
Good evening. Valerie Gingrich. I'm the Director of Planning and Conservation, and I'm here to talk to you tonight about the budget for FY22. Just generally, the proposed budget is keeping level funding for all of our items. And I can run through that or even share my screen if you'd like to see it on the screen. But for miscellaneous contractual services, $10,000, dues and subscription, $1,500, advertising, $8,000, training and conference, $2,000, office supplies, $1,500, and furnishings and equipment, $1,600. And those items are staying the same as last year.
Anybody have any questions for Valerie?
Valerie, what's the $10,000 breakdown again that we've carried for the past 2 years?
So that $10,000 for the contractual services, that item?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's for contractual services that come up during the year. For instance, this year, we had that $10,000 in there so that we could supplement the $31,000 grant that we got from the state to do municipal vulnerability preparedness plan and update our hazard mitigation plan. We got a state grant for $31,000 to do that. The contract with our consultant is for I think it's 9,000 more than that. So that 10,000 will cover that. It's a line item that we carry so that there's a little bit of flexibility in things like that.
Anybody else have any other questions for Valerie?
I just have one. I think I would rather see that labeled differently. That's more of a question for people putting the budget together.
You're looking at labeling miscellaneous contractual services differently?
Right. Because it's really more of a fund for unanticipated expenses, as opposed to a series of known contractual services that you're going to be using.
Valerie, in past years, so we have had specific intentions for some of those funds, haven't we?
Yeah, that's right. One year we did, we hired a consultant to work on our subdivision regulations. So that part of that money went towards that work. Typically it's it is often set aside for a specific project. And I believe in this past year, we were going to do some planning towards sidewalks, but it was luckily we had that there to cover the difference in cost. But it's often towards a specific project for consultants. So it's really kind of consultant funding, depending on whether we have something planned or something comes up. That's what we have it set aside for.
I think one year, and correct me if I'm wrong, Valerie, but I thought one year we also used some of those funds to pay for the evaluation that was done along the Main Street corridor. I remember when we had the consultant from
Yep.
was it UMass Boston that.
Yeah, the Donahue Institute, we did. We used that for the economic development study for Main Street. We did.
So it is typically either it's planning oriented, but it's either intended for anything from zoning, looking at zoning bylaws, updating zoning bylaws, or those kind of targeted projects like the economic development study that was done.
And don't you have to, do the accounts have to be in line with, descriptions have to be in line with the UMass statutory type accounts, yeah, accounting. So that's another piece that, kind of basically says that is a specific account that they have in the manual.
Any other questions for Valerie then? Seeing none, thank you, Valerie.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Mr. Spalding, you're up next on page 48. Al, I think you're muted.
Here we go.
Okay.
How we doing, everybody?
Good, and you?
Not complaining. Basically, it runs the same every year. You give us a little bit of money and we just got to watch how we spend it. Most of it's all in salaries. If you look at miscellaneous contractual services, that was for an alternate when I'm out on vacation or sick or something like that there. We bring in an alternate building commissioner. The training conference, that's for everybody to keep their certification up. You have to go have so many hours of certification, plumbing, electrical, and myself. And, the office supplies, the printing and advertising, it pretty much just spells out where we spend $3,500.
Anybody have any questions for Al?
Al, how are we doing on permits so far this year? Is everything down as far as building?
As far as numbers,
Yep.
well, the numbers are down a little bit, but the revenue's up. All right. What I see for next year is we won't see as many new homes because I don't even know where they found the land this year, but there's no more land. And for them to build a new home, they're going to have to buy an older one to tear it down. And the older homes are going for too much money. And then you add in the price of stock skyrocketed. So a lot of the contractors are now heading towards remodeling than they are new homes.
Are you seeing a lot of additions pulling permits, renovations more so right now than it was last year?
It's 50-50 right now, but I believe we're gonna see more. I mean, as you listen to the contractors now, they're all holding back on, well, they have no property to buy, and if they do buy it, for one instance, I think one of the contractors told me that a price of a new home, just the lumber alone, is a $25,000 upgrade in the last 5 months, maybe pandemic. So they just can't absorb it. These are jobs that they might have signed in February of last year. They got to them in June, prices skyrocketed. They can't really push it on to the consumer. So rather than doing that, they're just, if they're doing anything, they're just saying, okay, the price is only good for 30 days. So between the land and the stock, it looks like they're all gonna go to remodeling.
Now, do you see a lot of commercial, are there any commercial type buildings that are being remodeled or are used for something else? Like I know lab space, I don't know if it's coming this far out to Wilmington, but I know there's a lot of lab space being created in Waltham and Lexington area.
Although this isn't my forte, when I listen to the assessor and all of the other money people in the town and town hall, what they're telling me that residential and retail, no one's investing in it. They're all going after R&D and warehouse.
Yeah.
Once you talk to the assessor, you'll find out that some of the properties that have been sold, commercial properties, have gone for tremendous money. So if they don't spend all the money on buying it, then they're probably going to do some rehab.
Okay, great, thanks.
And Al, I was just wondering, I see like the residential miscellaneous permits is up like 450%. Is there like a clear makeup of what we're seeing an influx in?
Well, a lot of the miscellaneous sheds and wood stoves and stuff like that, the permits go up, but there's not a lot of money on the permit price.
Okay.
Al, remind me, did we see much in the way of an increase in pool permits this year? I seem to recall we had this discussion where, with everybody confined to being home, that maybe there were more applications, but
Everybody, I mean, we're still getting pool permits now. I mean, I would say pool permits went up 200%. Everybody was it was stay vacations. No one was going anywhere. So they were taking their money and putting it into a pool. And some of the in-ground pools are rather expensive, but a lot of people were putting the above ground pools, staying home. So the pool permits were, there was a lot of them.
Any other questions for Al?
How is our commercial construction going?
Well, you had Amazon up on Fordham Road, and then you had, give me a help here, Jeff. What was that? Analog. You had Analog. They did quite an undertaking this year. They're not complete yet. I see some more commercial coming down the road. It hasn't come to my desk yet, but there's going to be some commercial. 613, the old Expendex building. One side of it is Lowe's. The other side is going to be Holman's. Holman's is up on Ballardville. It's a Wilmington company. They're moving down to Main Street. So there was some big money spent on that building.
just for everybody's, to clarify, that's the property that you have to get to crossing the MBTA tracks there on Main Street, across from the Shell station.
That's the old Expedex
Oh,
building,
yes,
isn't it?
yes,
Right.
yes.
Any other questions for Al then? Seeing none. Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Next is Board of Health, page 43, Shelley.
Hi, everyone again.
Shelley, thank you for the info last Tuesday night.
nothing much has changed. Still don't have any vaccine. I'm so frustrated. But it appears that we're not getting in anytime soon. So they're really giving it all, I found out today, to the mass vaccination sites, which is like Gillette and Fenway in those places. Local boards of health are kind of last on the list, which is really frustrating since we do the most work. Like we're like forgotten about down here, but we'll get it eventually. So that's my quick COVID update.
Thank you.
So we shouldn't wait for you to get the senior shots. Look elsewhere, huh?
I think you should look elsewhere. I think that you should get on the site and try to get an appointment like wee hours of the morning, really late tonight. It works. People have been telling me that. And you have to check it like all day long. Like if you're just walking by your phone, go in and check. Maybe you can get your appointment just all the time and then you'll be lucky. So I heard that they're opening up the DoubleTree in Danvers for appointments. So you can, start there. It's maimmunizations.org. And then you can just scroll through. I think there's 5 pages. And just keep scrolling through until you see any that say that they have appointments available and click on it. And then just keep trying and keep trying. I don't think I'm going to be able to do 75 plus till like the end of February. The way it's going.
Shelley, with not getting vaccinations, you concerned about the second doses that you need to give out?
No, because you're automatically guaranteed your second dose. I already have my second doses for my first responders that we did 3 weeks ago. So no matter what, whatever vaccine you get, you automatically get your second dose. Okay. So we don't have to hold any back or anything like that. I have them safe and sound until February 11th. That's when they can get their second dose.
Shelley, do you get the needles that go with the vaccine? Does it all come in a package?
It all comes in a package. We get all the supplies. We get gloves, syringes, Band-Aids, alcohol wipes. Everything comes. It's nice. It comes in, as many vaccines that you get supplies to go with it.
Do you think at this point that they're going to give you the local health departments vaccinations, or you think that the state's gonna start going to the bigger sites and everyone will have to go there?
I get, wouldn't be surprised if that's the way it's going. It's looking like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I have doctors' offices, CVS, Walgreens, Wegmans, Stop and Shop, they're all vaccinating. And the governor keeps announcing that, more and more of these places will be vaccinating every week. And so maybe he's not going to give anything to the local boards of health and he's going to have it be done that way. We just don't know. It's like a waiting game. I got an email today from DPH that basically said they have no answer for local boards of health as to when they're going to get vaccine. So some of the ones that you see out there, like why does Wakefield have some, or why does Reading have some? Those are their leftovers for first responders that they have. So that they're not, I don't know if they're getting any extra, I don't know that they are. I don't know anyone else that knows that they are.
On the budget, Shelley?
Yes. So my budget is the same as last year. Yeah, it's really the same. My budget as it looks on paper is the same. Obviously, I am going over already for COVID related expenses last year and this year. Well, actually, I shouldn't say this year because fiscal year, I just really don't know what, July 1st is going to bring, what it'll be like and what, if I'll need more staff, if I need less staff, if we're sort of back to normal because it's the summertime, but then in the fall, things could ramp up again, even with vaccinations.
So in that respect, I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but my regular daily operating budget minus COVID is pretty much the same.
Anybody have any questions for Shelley?
John, I was just going to say that I think the premise that we're operating under is that to the extent that there are ongoing COVID costs associated with the Board of Health, COVID costs related with the Board of Health, we're going to pursue those reimbursements from the CARES Act. So we did talk about in the budget discussions here how to factor in the ongoing COVID expenses, and the approach that I took was to say, look, let's set the budget up as we do historically, carving the COVID expenses out or setting them aside under the premise that we will pursue the CARES funding to reimburse as we have to this point. So, that's why you're seeing her budget remain the same. The miscellaneous contractual services, for example, the 24,000, we have an individual who's a food inspector and covers the cost for his services going into the various establishments. It's also beach testing. That's part of the 24,000. And then the rest of it is, the next largest major category is clinical expenses, the 20,000 for the various health supplies associated with vaccines that she would normally do on a regular basis.
If you look at my statistical, it's so different. It's going to be so different too next year, obviously, because, we didn't have a rabies clinic. Different things are going down. The visits, home visits by the nurse, we just had no data to populate that because it was just a crazy year with my statistical. Next year will probably be the same. I don't know about a rabies clinic this year. I don't know about the beach testing this year, things like that. It's just, obviously my flu clinic numbers were huge. They're probably going to be huge again next year, which is a good thing.
And the beaver permits kind of stayed the same, so that's good.
Yeah, those things, they stay the same. Yeah, those critters
They're
are still out
immune.
there.
Well,
Anybody
Shelley,
else?
I just want to echo again, thank you for everything you're doing for the town. I know it's a tremendous amount of work for you and your staff. And I know Jeff is trying to help you as much as he can, but just thank you from me personally for everything you do.
Great job.
I agree also. For a small town, we have very few people in the health department, and you guys are doing a great job. It's not easy. Can't even imagine.
I still like my job, though. I can say that. Still like my job.
Good to hear.
Okay.
I have one thing, John, before, and this probably isn't to Shelley, but maybe to Jeff, but how confident are we that we'll get CARES Act funding to cover any incremental costs from here on out? Like, should we be budgeting any type of buffer here, or do you think we'll be at 100%?
Well, so as Bill Kavanaugh noted the other night, the original authorization was for a little over 2.1 million. And to date, we've put in for something a little over 800,000. And so since the CARES Act was extended through 12/31 of 2021, which was certainly fortunate for us, I guess obviously there's a lot of assumptions here and they could go one way or the other, but my assumption at this point is that we will in the next 6 months and beyond see a lessening of the COVID related expenses. With trying to be hopeful here, COVID is going to start to diminish in terms of its severity and ultimately costs as well. So what I'm banking on is that as we get into June, July, August and beyond, those costs will diminish and we'll still be able to get reimbursements from CARES.
Right.
Does reimbursements cover staff too, Jeff? If we had to hire more staff?
Yes, there are, they have to this point covered some of our staffing and overtime costs. One of the things, as Bill noted the other night, that we have to be mindful of is it seems like the qualifications or the funding items are changing to some degree. So that's, but at the moment, that's what we're seeing.
Any other questions for Shelley or? Seeing none, thank you, Shelley.
you.
Appreciate your
Thank you.
time.
Sure.
Thank you, Shelley.
Jeff, do we have anything else or?
I don't believe so. I think in terms of the follow-up, Bill Kavanaugh provided the information that you had requested on.
Yes, Chris had sent it out.
Okay, and then there was the information from Paul Ruggiero, I believe. Chris sent that out as well.
Yes, yeah.
And I do have information that I was asked for.
That's right. So Carrie was going to, has some follow-up on workers' comp, if I recall.
Yep.
Yeah. Would you like that now?
If you have it, that'd be great.
Absolutely. I certainly do. I think this is the first time since I've been with the town of Wilmington that we only have one employee out on workers' comp and one employee out on 111F.
Wow.
And both are being actively worked with the providers for our insurance. So we're hoping to come to some resolution on both of them as soon as possible.
Great.
And how long have they been out, Carrie?
The 111F has been out for quite some time, 2.5 years. It's a very complex case. Jeff and I are very much involved in it. And the other one has been out since, the workers' comp one has been out since March. And that one is in litigation.
Okay.
Do we have anything else, Jeff, or?
I believe that is it.
Okay. Then at this point, if anyone else has nothing, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
You want to do public comments?
Andrew, do we have anyone on?
We do not.
Okay. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then.
Motion to adjourn. Mary Ann Gillespie.
Is there a second?
Second, Michelle Kincaid.
All in favor by roll call? Teresa?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yes.
Bernie?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Good night, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Okay.
care.